yourself in and get ready. The leaders in NBL Supercoach are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Matrix and Hammer.
Welcome back to the Inside NBL Show. The boys are back. Hammer, welcome back. How you been? You look like you've had some sleep.
I haven't slept in a couple of weeks. Thanks for holding the fort down while I've been, bringing a new life into the world. But look, can't stay away from the pod forever. And leading into round 20, the final round of the year, there is still a lot to unpack.
I tell you what, you're like Stephen Bradbury. You missed a couple weeks there. We've stumbled. Everybody's had to put up with a Matrix solo. They had to listen to Mavericks dribble. I tell you what, he could not come back quick enough. In the group chats today, mate. Exciting to hear about everything, but let's head straight into breaking news.
It's time for some news from around the league.
There is some drama unfolding out west, Matrix.
There is. Look, I'm a big Kylie Minogue fan myself, and so were the Perth Wildcats. So they've got Kylie Minogue, and she has booked RAC Arena for the first week of finals. What do you take from this?
Well, there's a little bit to this. If Perth finish third, as they're probably expected to, they're going to have to play their first final play-in game at the old Challenge Stadium, which holds 4,000 spectators. They have 11,000 members. They've averaged almost 13,000 across their last 5 home games. There's going to be some serious unhappy fans out west with this one if they can't get something done. But is this more incentive for them to finish second, which they obviously can do?
Yeah, look, I think they're going to be trying. I think, we're calling the segment Dead Rubbers, spoiler alert, but we're going to delve into what people need to do to land where. But I tell you what, they're going to be trying to finish second, and I think they can. They hit some form last week. I actually picked Southeast Melbourne to beat them last week, but hey, the greatness of Cotton got them home. But yeah, it would be disastrous for ticket sales. It'd be disastrous for Perth as an organisation to only get 4,000 people to that game. And
disastrous for the bloke whose job it was to book the stadium. He's going to be in a world of hurt. He's probably not coming back next year. What else you got for breaking news?
Rob Edwards has gone home, ruining my pod.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably wasn't even that big of a pod by the end. Everybody was sort of loading up over the next period. But I liked Rob Edwards when Taron wasn't playing. So I went and got him. But hey, apparently I should have just went to Pedro. But I don't hate this. I don't hate releasing a guy when, in fact, this segment's probably going to be called Dead Rubbers. When that's all he's going to be playing. I actually hope that we see Rob Edwards back in the NBL again. I enjoyed his season.
I didn't. I don't think he'll be back. I don't think if I was Cairns, I'd bring him back. I feel like he was a bit of a dick. I was not a fan. But look, I'm in the same boat as you. I've held him for the last couple of weeks, banking on having this, troop of Cairns Taipans and Illawarra Hawks on my bench. He's now going to sit there with a big fat 0. I'm going to have to get rid of him, and that's a trade I didn't want to use. And look, I think this season, more than any other season in recent memory, a lot of seasons have been over pretty quickly. I don't think there's as many players really playing for those top positions as there have been in the past. I know my season's been all but over for probably a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, look, in all honesty, me too. I took a stab at Parker Jackson Cartwright, which leads me into the next one. But I took a stab at Parker Jackson Cartwright probably at the wrong time instead of maybe paying up and getting a Cotton 1 week. I thought I could upgrade from 2 positions to get PJC and that, working his way back from that injury. But yeah, look, he was butthurt. His foot was out the door. And I'm not going to call his injury fake because I don't think his injury was fake. But I think if there was some sort of urgency, if there was some sort of wanting to play for the team, his foot was out the door and he's going back overseas. And after a couple of really successful years, I know we were really high on him and he was probably the best player through that first 6-7 weeks of Supercoach. I'll be sad to see Parker Jackson Cartwright go. I can't see him coming back to the NBL.
No, I can't either. But you've got to remember too, when he first signed in New Zealand, no one was high on him. He was brought in to come off the bench. I don't think even New Zealand realised how good he was going to be. So, look, we might uncover another diamond in the rough next year and we can all jump on him. But, look, when you have teams like Cairns, like New Zealand, who have nothing left to play for, this is where you can get burnt. Rob Edwards is released. He would not have been released if they were still in the hunt. And the same goes with Parker Jackson Cartwright. So this is where this dead rubber thing comes in tonight. We're going to have a look at what teams have left to play for. And if they're in a position where they can rest some stars, who's going to be the beneficiary and who might we pod to cash in on this?
Mate, I've got another one. What did you think of KD saying basically goodbye to Adelaide before their final game? It's been probably well documented that there was friction with him in the NBL with the suspension that he got with Trez during what did we call that? We called
Malice, not the Palace.
it was something. It was something pretty good, but and then the whole Mike Wells situation not going well, but just saying goodbye before. I can see like Sydney Kings throwing the bag or something at him and getting him back in the league, but I think his time at Adelaide's done. And how many times do we see Adelaide get these guys and just burn them?
Oh, time after time. Like I've heard so many takes on this situation.
Thanks,
and look,
Cindy.
we need to remember that Kendrick Davis is young, as good as he is, but young to the point it's like a 15-year-old girl on Facebook, you know, posting these little cryptic things, wanting everyone to see if you're all right. But we know that Adelaide, they just get themselves in these positions. You've got an absolute stud. You need to do everything you can to make sure he's coming back. And look, the coach is obviously an issue here. They're not getting on. Could we see a world where Mike Wells is let go after signing a 3-year contract and we be in a position where Adelaide are probably still paying Joey Wright, still paying Scott Ninnis, still paying Connor Henry, probably paying 5, 10, 15 head coaches at the same time for all we know? Look, it would not surprise me with the 36ers organization. They're a shambles.
I mean, like I like blokes like Jason Kadee and people like Lat Mayen and things like that. But like if they could have surrounded, like they fell to pieces this week, and I think that was a mentality thing. They were coming home with a wet sail, and then like Kendrick starts to say goodbye to people. Like I think it's probably pretty well documented that we won't see Trez back in the league, or at least back for Adelaide. He seems to have more beef with the NBL than he's got with Adelaide, let's be honest. But like, yeah, it's just not a good look. Like I feel like the NBL made significant steps forward, maybe not with their Next Stars program this year, although I've really enjoyed my time watching Almanza play. I think the Next Stars program was but I think like Malik Lewis like wasn't a top 60 prospect though either. Like I don't know, like and then they've got the
odd Next Stars program for a couple of years now, hasn't it? Like I think we compare everything to LaMelo Ball, and that's probably unrealistic. And we need to remember LaMelo Ball came here and he was picked to be undrafted. The fact that he got drafted number 3 was really left field. But are we in a position now, and it might be different now, G League Ignite have gone, the kind of Next Star that we're really looking at is an Alex Tui, a local kid.
Yeah, I know. But like we did have like, RJ Hamptons and blokes like that. And like while not having a very successful NBA career, they were still like number 24 picks and things like that. I think Rocco was supposed to be the guy. Look, Tui will get a second round pick, surely.
Let me give you a quick list of some of the Next Stars. I think you got these rose-coloured glasses on, but let me just remind you, Terry Armstrong with Southeast Melbourne, Didi Lazada, Mojave King, Look, Justinian Jessup, AJ Johnson, Trenton Flowers. There's been some guys who have been probably less than spectacular, and we can put an exclamation point on that with Rocco Zakarsky after this season.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like, it's the imports that have been exciting this year. Like, I've
Yeah.
enjoyed your Jalen Adams. I always enjoy watching Milton Doyle. Your Kendrick and Trez were
That's been
headlines
great.
every week. So I make the I don't want to flex on your Hammer, but I make the graphic every week. I've just
You
got
do.
like 40 pictures of I've got more pictures of Kendrick Davis and Montrezl Harrell on my phone than I have of my kids.
Are you still talking
From
about your Spirit bank or what?
it's been copy and pasting into my graphics.
There's
There's
pasting, all
so
right.
like we're talking about these guys every single week, and it's
Yeah.
been good for the NBL. But why didn't we find anything to keep them? Like, look,
Yeah.
we found PJC, Rob Edwards, KD, and Montrezl Harrell get in fights because they're, I suppose, a little bit feistier out there than the
Yep.
normal Australian, which I like. You've seen me play basketball, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Mind
I don't
you,
know.
I
Like,
think
they've
there's
just
a
been,
common factor. I reckon Shea Illy's been involved in 90% of them.
yeah. I mean, I actually really like Shea Illy's game. He's a pest. But
Yeah.
I think we haven't caught up for a bit, so we're having a bit of drivel. Let's head on to our squeeze of the week. As always, it's brought to us by the Standard Squeeze. Use code IFS15 to get 15% off your order. I know I've got all their products. I love their 4-in-1. I have all these little packs. I tell you what, I've got my little Standard Squeeze shrine behind me. I try to stay off the spirits during the week, but yeah, we need to do more weekend episodes if you want to see me get on these bad boys. But what I'm excited about is Charlotte. Now, Charlotte is the number 1 overall player at the moment with the Cotton Stones. So I'm just wishing Charlotte all the best in the final round. Hope you can come home with it and win the inaugural Insight Cup regardless.
Yeah, that's exciting. Another one out of the Insight crop after DVG last year. It's could bring a tear to a glass eye, couldn't it?
It could. But we're here to hand out prizes. And this goes to Ross Neach with Cotton Pickers. So he captained Kendrick. He had Pinder, Windler, Sobey, and Doyle on the bench with like
Elite.
just blokes like Trez and everybody out there. He had Cotton. He obviously started Cotton as well with Kendrick. So yeah, I think it was 600 this week. It was a huge score.
Massive.
And yeah, that bench really is what got you home. You had nobody really score less than 45. So
Yeah.
so ripping week. Brought to you by the Standard Squeeze. Mate, I don't have a soundbite for dead rubbers. I could probably pull something from the old phone, but let's chat about dead rubbers because you've done some analysis. Of course, we start every week by saying we've got Hawks and Cairns on the double. Everybody else's singles. We're in round 20. We don't need to look forward to anything else after that. I need to look forward to my NRL preseason. You need to look forward to I don't know, hitting the gym or whatever it is you do. So yeah, what are we looking at from Hawks? What are we looking at from the
Yep.
ladder? What do you got for me?
Well, probably a lot of a different take than I hit you up with this morning because I thought we'd end up with a heap of dead rubbers. Last round, heap of teams with nothing to play for. And the more I've looked into it, there are still mathematically 8 teams that can make the finals. There are still 3 teams that could finish first. And look, you keep going down the ladder. The NBL put out a graphic today showing who could finish where, but there is a lot going on. And I think at least until halfway through this round, there's going to be a fair bit to play for outside of probably Cairns and New Zealand. So look, if we start at the top, Hawks are on the double. Hawks are sitting in first currently with a very healthy percentage. They're on a double game week. Hawks take care of both games. They finish first. Interestingly, though, the Hawks will play both their games before both United and Perth play one, who are the other two teams who could potentially finish first. So really hard to do anything with that. Look, United, they've only got one game this week. If they win that and the Hawks lose both, United finish first. Yep, carry the one.
Yep.
If United win and the Hawks go 1-1, it comes down to percentage. So, look, I'm pretty confident the Hawks will finish first. United and Perth is going to be a battle between finishing first and second. Perth definitely want to finish second because if they finish third, they have to play at the old Challenge Arena. So there's a bit of extra motivation.
Did you ever watch One Tree Hill?
I was obsessed with One Tree Hill. You know what? I've actually recently, probably in the last 12 months, gone back and watched season 1 through to 9.
Oh, wow. I need to do that. And you remember that the Bobcats were an actual team when you watched that. But
Legit.
do you remember when what I thought of? The first thing I thought of when I saw this was when when they kept losing and the coach took them to that old stadium and they had that
Yes.
creaky floorboard and they used the creaky floorboard to get their
They channeled
mojo
him
back.
in there to get the steal.
Yeah, I reckon Bryce Cotton's looking for a creaky floorboard this week. So next week if they have to play there. So look, this is my take.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh, look, there's just about as much drama as One Tree Hill playing out in the West this week. So keep tuned to see what's going to go on there. Look, let's talk Hawks. We know they're on the double. They play both. I don't expect this to be a dead rubber. I think they're going to try and win them both because they would hate to really stumble at the finish line right now and go into the finals with no momentum. So
Yep.
I'm going to say this one is not a dead rubber. Who do you like out of the Hawkies?
So I did my solo pod last week, which I tell you what, I'm way better when there's banter. I did do my research before. You didn't get to do it all for me. It was really hard. But I did it prefacing and go back and listen to it because you can take a little bit from it. But I was prefacing the fact that I thought that the Hawks would have already locked up first. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was doing it the Cairns. I thought that Rob Edwards was going to be playing. So I was really excited, and I was thinking I was going to come in this week and maybe downgrade somebody to a Lockie Ulbrich and then upgrade maybe a Clint Steindl or somebody like that to a Will Hickey. Now that I see this and we've had a look at that, I actually want Trey Kell this week. I do think that he's the best player. I do think that he's the player that they go to. Sam Froling, we've had mixed results probably over the last 6 games. I'm too scared of him scoring 14. I know that and I think it was 2 games ago, Trey Kell had a poor shooting night. And then he went and got himself 11 or 12 assists by being out there on the floor. I'm a lot more confident in a Trey Kell than I am a Sam Froling when it comes to the Hawks. And I came in this week thinking that I was going to get Will Hickey and Lockie Ulbrich, but I think that they're just going to be backups this week. We know Darius Days is hopefully returning, not this week, but during the finals. But yeah, I've got a different outlook, and I'm a lot more confident in the guards than I am with the forwards and the centers when it comes to the Hawks.
Yeah, you're right. Look, Sam has been rocks and diamonds for us, and that's why, look, I own him already. I'm going to keep him. I don't think I'd be bringing him in if I only had 2 trades. Already own Mason Peatling. I think he's solid as a bench option. Keep him. He's a hold. But Kel, you're right. He had those 12 assists or whatever it was. When he's not on, he can contribute if he's not shooting the ball well. You look at someone like a Tyler Harvey. If he's not hitting 20, does he contribute elsewhere? He's a lot closer to a Chris Goulding type who's more reliant on actual points than someone like Trey Kell. So I think it's a safer option. Look, the matchups are neither here nor there. They play, I think, New Zealand in the first game, which is, look, they're as good as checked out. Matt Mooney defensively is like a rusty gate. It just keeps swinging open. Everyone goes past. Look, I'm not seeing a whole lot else out of the Hawks. It's just been very vanilla this year, hasn't it? They've been great, but there hasn't been that one guy every week that's stepped up like a Kendrick Davis for Adelaide.
No, you're right. Yeah, they have been. They've been the best team in the comp. You know what? If anything, I really hope that they win. I
Yeah,
hope that Illawarra can win the
and
comp. They're
I think
they're
you
my
hit on
pick.
the head there. They've been the best team, which is often not really conducive to Supercoach. You look at a team like Adelaide, where you've got Kendrick Davis, Montrez. They both play 35 minutes. They've got the ball in their hands 90% of the time. You know where you got to go to, and they just keep going to that well until it dries up. Great for Supercoach. Obviously not as conducive to winning, because you look at their record. They're just scraping in by the skin of their teeth. But Illawarra a much better team, and they're happy to defer to the hot hand and go elsewhere if a certain matchup isn't favourable. Which the unpredictability of that is not something I love Supercoach wise.
And it's okay for being in your team in a double. That's not
Yep.
what we're saying. But maybe when we chat about captains in our next short, yeah, I'm a bit more scared to captain some Illawarra guys.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the test you have to apply to this really is if you're taking a Hawk or a Cairns guy because they're on a double, you need to compare it to Kendrick Davis, Bryce Cotton, and Montrezl Harrell. And you're going to have to say to yourself, does this guy outscore one of those elite Supercoach players who are on a single just because he's on a double? And someone like Sam Froling to outscore Montrez, I could see Sam going for 18 and 22, and I could see Trez going for 50 again. To
yeah.
me, that's not a trade I have to make.
Yeah, true. It's more if you're trading. I mean, we'll have a chat about trade targets a bit later on, but I've got Pinder, and he's
Yep.
somebody that I might look to go to a Froling. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That'd be more reasonable.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
mate. I want you to have a little bit of a chat about the logjam from third to fifth, and whether that's Supercoach relevant this week. I know a lot of people have checked out, and we're doing a podcast about NBL as well. We're actually we were chatting before the show about maybe doing more NBL specific content next year and doing some Supercoach and NBL episodes separately to tick everybody's boxes to
Yeah.
I suppose tickle everybody's favor. But what do we see about this logjam from third to fifth? Because I know
Yeah.
that it's got a small amount of relevance for Brisbane, but your Jack Jumpers as well.
Yeah. Look, so third to fifth, right now you've got
Oh,
Perth,
sorry, not third
Southeast
to
Melbourne,
fifth.
Sydney sitting in that order. Perth, we said before, can potentially finish first if they're kissed on the dick and everything falls in their favour. More than likely, they'll probably finish second to third, I'd say. Look, they're one game ahead of Southeast and Sydney. I'd probably be pretty sure to say it almost finishes this way. That sixth, seventh, eighth. So Adelaide are currently sitting in sixth. They will hold it. They're a game ahead of Tassie. Tassie need to win. Adelaide need to lose. And then it comes some crazy percentage where Tassie have to win by 70, which is not going to happen when they can't even score 70 a game. Brisbane still mathematically a chance. They have to win and have to win by about 100. So look, I'd imagine Adelaide, if they win, they lock sixth. If they lose and lose by less than 70, I think they hold sixth. So I think our top six is pretty much set. But look, ladder position between fifth, fourth, third, home court advantage comes into play. That's where it's really going to bite. And there's a weird mix of games. The order that they're played in, some teams are playing, a lot earlier than others. Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'm actually keeping my eye on the Southeast Melbourne game right at the end.
Yep.
I think Sobey and your Matt Hurt are going to have to absolutely cook against Melbourne to if the stars align and they've really got to get a win. Melbourne might have already checked out, depending, but also if Illawarra have lost some games, they're going to be trying to put on Southeast Melbourne to jump them.
Yeah. And look, when you come down to the last game of the season, and let's say you're a Melbourne United squad, you might even be looking and thinking, who do I want as a matchup? Is it worth throwing? If I can't get first, I've got locked away second, maybe it's worth throwing this game and I'm going to get a matchup against maybe Adelaide instead of Southeast Melbourne, or I like the look of the Sydney matchup. So I think there's a lot to play out, but I don't think there's a lot that we can actually really lock in before this round starts.
And follow us on socials. We're gonna try and get some stuff out on Twitter, and of course everybody's involved in our Patreon as well, to work out what's going on. There's some very smart heads in there, and just when you put some people that are looking for, I suppose, higher NBL information, you just end up with some better heads, and many hands make light work. So I know some of the guys in the Patreon come up with a lot better ideas than me in some of this, in those WhatsApp chats and everything we've got going on. So
before we talk about Cairns, who look, playoff contention is completely out of the question for them, but they are on the double. I'm going to put something to you. So going back to the old NBL fantasy format, the year I finished 35th, that was my best finish.
Weird flex.
Yeah, well, look, I was 15th coming into the last round, and I had the decision to make. Do I play it safe, and I probably could have just held on to about 15th, or do I throw in a pod and try and get top 10? Went the pod, and then it blew out a bit. If you're in that situation now, do you go the pod, or do you play it safe?
I go the pod. I did it a few weeks ago. I was sitting 300th, and I was like, fuck, I can upgrade both. I can't remember exactly who it was, but say I ended up getting Sam Wardenberg, and that was on his shit week, and Parker Jackson Cartwright, instead of getting basically a Clint Steindl equivalent and Bryce Cotton for that week. So I elected to go the double. I thought not many people are going to get Parker Jackson Cartwright. Turned out it was about 25% of the top 5% had him. I just thought this is moving week. Maybe Bryce Cotton breaks a leg. Maybe Sam Wardenberg scores 60, and instead of getting a guy that's going to score 16, that's going to make up the difference if Parker Jackson Cartwright scores less. Well, Sam Wardenberg had that game of about 6, and Parker Jackson Cartwright broke his ribs in the first game. So that didn't end well for me, and I'm going to finish 500th. But the way I play basically anything is go big or go home.
Yeah.
So I do think if you find yourself at 100th and there's mathematically a chance of you winning a Triton GSR, maybe you look to a Pedro Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Maybe you hope Illawarra shuts up shop and Lockie Ulbrich plays huge minutes and they put the Q in the rack with Sam Froling. Maybe you hope Taron Armstrong. I reckon, if you're high up, you're probably not even punting on a Taron Armstrong earlier on. So, yeah, I do think that you need to close your eyes, throw a dart at the dartboard, and you're right. You talked to me about it pre-show. Pedro Bradshaw.
Yeah. So that's where I'm leading with this one. I think the pod has to come from Cairns. We talked before about Illawarra, that they're just by committee. There's nothing that excites me. This week, the Cairns Taipans, they take on the Brisbane Bullets and they take on my Tassie Jack Jumpers. I think they're both good matchups. We never know which Cairns Taipan squad is going to come out. They are such rocks and diamonds, that squad, but we've seen Sam Wardenberg almost pop off for a triple-double. We've seen Pedro Bradshaw over the last 3 games finally show some signs of life. And I think he's had 42, 38, and 31 or something like that in the last 3 Supercoach scores.
And he was priced at a 21 at one stage.
Yeah, so he's only 277K. I think, look, to me, that's the pod of the week. I really like what he's put out the last couple of weeks. He's shown some sneaky games. And look, we could be completely wrong, but he's had some big rebounding games. He's had some scoring games. Look, could this be the round he actually puts it together? And, he's a triple-double threat.
I like it because I dug into the stats about how much better he was when Taron Armstrong wasn't playing.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to, and Rob Edwards has been pretty durable this year, but I think it's going to be exactly the same. Like you take out a Rob Edwards is kind of similar to taking out a Taron. Maybe he loses a few more assists, but scores a few more points. I think it's going to be pretty similar scores to when Taron's out, which all those scores that you just rattled off, Taron was out, to when Rob Edwards is out. So and maybe even unlocked a little bit more. So I really like the Pedro play this week.
Yeah. The Rob Edwards being out is huge. They don't have a lot of other options of that sort of, two guard, small forward sort of player. I think Pedro, he's got my vote. Vote for Pedro. What about Tanner Groves? Is he a pod?
I think a lot of people already have him.
Yeah.
I've been disappointed in him.
Ceiling.
Yeah, and that's probably where it's come from. Like, if you're having this huge dart throw, are you really throwing that dart throw at this man? But when he's out of foul trouble, he's been scoring really well. He's only 11% owned, and I'm just going to filter by top 10% there as well.
My concern with Groves, he scores the ball well. He does not rebound well. And, his scores really have that low ceiling to them. And if I'm going a pod, I would prefer to take a punt on a guy that has a high ceiling and even a negative floor than a guy that you think, he'll get 20 game in, game out.
I would rather antipod Tanner Groves. He is 69 percent owned in the top 5%. So Pedro Bradshaw's only 42%. Taron Armstrong's only 30%. So should we be looking towards Taron Armstrong? He's only 298K.
All right. So go back to my argument before. Who are you taking out? Most of us have Cotton and KD at guard. Is Taron in 2 better than one of those guys in 1? And can you save a trade to do something elsewhere?
I think you can, but say you're getting, all I'm saying is say you're getting, Tanner Groves is Sam Froling money. I think that they
cancel each other out.
Yeah, basically. I think Taron Armstrong outscores Cotton and Kendrick on a double. I'm not talking about it being must-have. I'm talking about maybe 10 points. And I'm not even talking about trading one of those guys to Taron Armstrong. But say you have a Rob Edwards. Say you have somebody else that's 300K on your bench. Say you've got somebody that's 200K and somebody that's 400K. You go and get your Wardenbergs, your Groves, your Frolings, your Kell, and then upgrade somebody to a Taron Armstrong. I think that's the play.
Yeah. I like it. And what you said about not having to get rid of a Cotton, you look at the players from Illawarra, you look at the players from Cairns, no one is that uber expensive guy. You're paying mid 300s max for a bloke. I think you could, even if you wanted to, keep Cotton on your bench this week. You could start a KD Pedro or a KD Taron, put Cotton on the bench, or, KD on the bench, vice versa, and roll with that.
Can I give you a would you rather?
Oh, I love these. It's filthy, isn't it?
It's pretty straightforward. And I think you've just given your answer. With everything you've spoken about that's happening in Perth, would you rather start a depressed KD or a Cotton not wanting to clash with Kylie Minogue?
Yeah. Look, Cotton definitely has something to play for, even if it is going to be in that rickety old gym the next week. But yeah. Let me have a look at the matchup. So Perth, who did Perth play?
Can I just say, I just can't get you out of my head. That's it.
Yeah, look, so they play each other. Cotton versus KD. Friday night, 8:30.
So was that the last time that they played? Remember, Cotton scored the highest points ever by a player against this team. Was it this team?
Yeah.
No, that was against New Zealand. No,
New Zealand.
it
Look,
was PJC. It was undersized US guards. It's all the same.
Perth are playing well. I think they match up reasonably well. Like Pinder, Montrez, or Pinder versus Humphreys. They've got Doolittle back. Doolittle is a strong cat. I think he can give Montrez the business. He can play inside, outside. I think that's a decent matchup. Look, Cotton, KD, they put Sunday Detch on him maybe. Look, I'm going to go Cotton in this one. And I have not bet against KD all year because I love his assists. But I just think Cotton's got too much to play for. And like you said, is KD checked out already?
You stole my thunder because you said, "Oh, maybe you play Cotton on the bench." I was like, "Well, I'm actually starting Cotton over KD." So it's good once we think about it that we're on the same page. So both of us are playing Cotton over KD this week, and it sounds to me, and I don't know. I'm not the pleb. I'm not reading too much into Instagram, but Katie does seem like he's checked out. He's saying goodbye to the city of churches. Bryce Cotton married an Australian woman. He's home in the wild, wild west out there. I'm starting Cotton.
Australia doesn't love him back with his citizenship.
Mate, I've got a couple of South African friends that you've got to sign some paperwork there. I tell you what, I swear that's been dragging on for 3 years as well. But mate, I'm playing Cotton over Davis as well, but I'm holding Davis because I think he still can score 50 and 25 points on the bench on a single is fantastic.
If the Cats get away with it early, do the Adelaide just say, well, let's just not lose by 70 and we'll still finish with 6?
I mean, maybe. I don't really know how that's going to pan out, but Cotton plays 39 minutes a night. And there's so many times when I've thought that Cotton should just be benched. Why is he still out there? And he just keeps playing. So that's where I'm sitting at with it.
Yeah. And as much as we, despise John Riley's coaching ability, the fact that he hasn't found the button to actually call a sub yet has played in our favour pretty well all season. So, I know. Let's go Cotton one.
Dick's out for John Riley at the Toowoomba Sports Club, mate.
I walk past that every time I go
there. if anyone can send me a picture of that, I'll send you a standard squeeze pack. You know what I'm talking about. Guys, I think that just about wraps it up. We've had a chat about our trade targets. If I had to pick 3, it's going to be Trey Kell and still probably Sam Froling and Taron Armstrong. So what? Actually, no, Wardenberg. I'm just not looking at. Yeah, you can have Pedro, man. You pick.
I'll take Pedro.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice with Pedro.
Yeah,
guys. Thank you very much. You've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. Our captains will be on the next video.